now we're going to do our formal Q&A, and people can type the questions, and we can answer them. We can answer them verbally. You'll be able to. We'll be able to do it that way. There was an interesting question from Tracy. China impacts the world in two powerful ways through Qigong and the communist rule, which is the agenda behind COVID-19. Can you say something about these dualities? Shen Yun is the famous Chinese dance company. The dancers practices meditation and exhibit tremendous one-pointedness, yet I wonder whether behind their training is the communist rule.
Can I say something to that?
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of you know, when we talk about freedom, we kind of expect like complete freedom, like the ability to make any choices whatsoever. But I think if we actually had the ability to make any choices about our lives whatsoever, we actually wouldn't make any choices. It's a bit like if you're presented with, you know, 150 different flavors of ice cream, you actually wouldn't know which one to choose. So quite often people relate that. In fact, the ancient Chinese philosophers related that back to the idea of the river. The river is bound by the banks. You know, it can't just go straight from the top of the mountain down to the sea, but it has to follow the banks and all that. So it is constrained, it has limitations, yet it has its own freedom within those limitations. So in answer to your question about the dancers, they are people who are born within a particular political or social system, and it is within that system which has its restraints, yet we can also say that the system that we are raised in ourselves has a lot of restraints as well. Sometimes we don't realize them until someone else points them out. You know, it's just like Americans think they're the land of the free, but actually we now see that they've been controlled by propaganda, media, politics, etc. Yeah, I wonder whether that helps to answer your question, Tracy.
Could I just add something to that one too?
Go.
Am I on? Yeah, am I on? Yeah. The Shenyun Dance Company is actually are Americans. They're American Chinese. They're based in New York. So possibly they are not exposed to the Communist Party credo and so on, as Tracy was asking. As I say, they're all Americans rather than Chinese-born Chinese.
Kia ora. Nice.
I also think that there's a relevance even in our country where you could say that maybe if our political environment, if there's certain nefarious, just for example's sake, say our politics is run by fairly nefarious people, it doesn't mean that we haven't got good people in this country. It doesn't even mean we haven't got good people even within our government. You know, I think that is an individual journey and is a collective journey going on here. And we can affect the collective very powerfully when individuals rise in consciousness and mind. And I think that's how we shift. That's how we shift the conspiracy theories into no conspiracy, or conspiracy fact, is that as people rise, the conspiracy dissolves. And we can do that with other people. We can do that with, same with communism. Communism is just an idea that has been created through ignorance, by and large, of people not knowing their power.
They're conditioned and brainwashed, aren't they?
Well, they are. Yeah, they are. And somehow to break free from that conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
There's another question there. It's just a statement. They are all Falun Dafa practitioners and train under Master Lee, says Ali.
Where's that? I can't see that.
The Falun Gong actually is very interesting because, they're harvesting the organs of the Falun Gong practitioners because they know they've got the most pristine bodies because of their practices. So there's a very insidious thing going on in China and in other countries too with this organ harvesting.
Nice.
There's a question for Shane. I'm trying to understand Tiao Mori better. T-A-O. I'm not sure.
Tao. That's Tao.
Which would be considered Q, Wairua or Maori? Are you able to explain it?
Yeah, let's have a little look at that.
Are you able to explain these concepts in relation to energy?
Yeah, okay. Steve, no, Chris Machine is trying to understand Tiana Maori better would be considered. I'd for your chi. That's something that we talk about on our facilitations when we're down in Wairoa. And so your Wairoa is your energy, it's your life force. So when we're talking to your breath and your energy life force, it's something I believe is as chi. I'm fortunate to work with a lot of Māori, and they understand that concept, and just not Māori, it's an indigenous thing around the whole world, and just not for the indigenous races, shall we say. People are starting to understand and feel energy, and it's a big, Māori actually had a simple Qigong form, which was a hand form in the early days. So I hope we've answered your question, and if not, maybe type something else on there and we'll get back to that. Thank you, Tony.
Does Wairua also mean spirit?
Yep. Absolutely. And let's get quite clear. I know some te reo, but it's my next journey to be fluent.
Ali is asking me a question. How does one know they have 1 point? Which is that's a really good question. Well, how do you know you're in harmony? How do you know you are one with the universe? So one of the ways of knowing you're one with the universe and keeping 1 point is that you're feeling good. Yeah. So you have a feeling of lightness, of how would you say, an inherent, simple, good feeling. So it doesn't mean happy, like being happy, crazy happy, but that just feeling that life is good, life is okay. To find it, sorry. Okay, that you have the right spot. Yeah. So it's something that also moves. So that 1 point is not a fixed spot. So I think Shane talked about the Dandien, right? And so it's that same concept. It's a point somewhere in your 1 point, but as your body moves, as your center of gravity moves between, say, sitting down, standing up, and whatever, it actually moves, it changes, it moves around, right? Does that make sense? So that's why we do the Aikido practices, because then it's easier for someone else to test you and to see whether you are feeling stable. It's a bit hard to test yourself to see whether you're stable, but someone else can do it more easily. So that's why kind of going to a class, either a Qigong class or a Aikido class, helps you to establish those kind of points more easily, and someone can confirm it for you, and then through reconfirming and reconfirming, you start getting the feeling, the subtle feeling of, yes, I'm keeping my 1 point. But how you can do it easily is just to touch just below your navel, just touch your belly with your finger, one of your fingers, and bring your mind to that point that you are touching. So I hope that answers that.
Yeah, I think I'll just have a quick little talk into that too. For me, I've noticed when I get myself to a great point or a good balance point, everything flows better. So like everything I need arrives. I wake up in the morning excited. I'm thinking about something and it manifests. So I think that's my interpretation of being at peace or in that 1 point, I think. Yeah.
And Tahira said connectedness. So when you are in that feeling as well, you actually feel more connected with other people. The sense of people look more attractive and appealing, and yeah, somehow it's you get on better with other people.
Would you say that sort of focus your heart soul center encourages you to connect with that higher point?
I believe so.
Yes. So I think, like the teachers used to say, actually connecting with your 1 point, you don't even, at some point, you don't need to actually imagine yourself in your 1 point. It's in a way, it's a teaching method. So when you've got the posture right, if you've got a good posture, you automatically keep 1 point. If you relax completely, like live relaxation, you've automatically got 1 point. So yeah, there are different ways to approach it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We've got. We did have some pre-prepared questions as well. If you like, I can speak this out, and maybe if you feel like that's the case.
And perhaps even
first one is, how does one discern the real truth with all of the conflicting views and propaganda coming out within this current climate of overwhelming confusion?
Well, I'd go along with Gerald on that, especially with the 1 point thing. I find I get a clear understanding of what's going on and view if I'm coming up, shall we say, if I'm coming from. I think what happened was a lot of people lost common sense, without being rude to the rest of the people out there. Intuitive, through Gerald's practice, I'm sure you get a bit of an intuition and it's like what Sylvia's talking about, when you're getting yourself into that beautiful state, and you start to get the answers, and you actually start to see what's going on. That's how it works for me, anyway.
Yeah. For me, it's about understanding the context of which context the truth exists in. Is it subjective? Is it if it's a pure subjective truth? In other words, I'm saying something and about someone, and they've done this and that, and it's a conspiracy. That's really just a subjective truth. And it may well be ascertainable, but to me, if we focus on the key foundational truths of that exist in the earth, that exist in the water, that exist in the air and the fire, and our soul and our mind, and we know who we are. And when we know who we are, there's an automatic sifting process that starts to happen with the subjective truths that are coming at you a million miles an hour. You can discard 90% of them straight away when we're grounded and we're balanced and we're centered inside ourselves.
Yeah, I think in a sense we become, they become actually not so important. The ability or the experience of reconnecting with nature and feeling the goodness of nature's energy is actually more, and also starting to understand the natural principles becomes actually more important. And then the dramas of politics and what people are doing and blah blah, you just observe it as drama, and yeah, it's subjective.
I would say, sorry. Yeah, I would agree. If we're looking for truth about what someone says or some government edict or whatever, that's a different thing to my mind than looking for truth with a capital T. In other words, the abstract or the esoteric understanding of something, or the truth in the sense of, well, I'm spiritual, but you know what I mean. If there's something I want to know the truth of, that sense, in a esoteric sense, I actually ask. My little technique is I just say to my soul, higher self, and the Holy Spirit. I use those three in combination. The Holy Spirit's the communicator in my language. Just bring into my conscious awareness the answer to this or the truth about such and such. And I find that even if I don't get an answer immediately, there will be an or something will trigger the answer at some date shortly afterwards.
Nice. Very good.
So another question here that we have, I think this one's quite relevant because it relates to New Zealand. During these unprecedented times, what do you see as New Zealand's role on the global scale of this great awakening and conscious evolution? And I wanted to say something about that, something I heard recently, something I've always known is New Zealand is often being used as a test bed country for various technologies and social engineering. New Zealand, for a long time, when women got the vote, and they rolled out a lot of different technologies, the FPOS and all of that. And New Zealand, I believe, has a very powerful a very powerful aspect of this evolution because of its position where we are. We're the first to see the light, so symbolically, what happens in the world happens here first, and it's about the light. The light hits New Zealand first, light of our consciousness as we awaken, rather than being used as a testing country for nefarious things or for the deep state or whatever. If we, as a small island nation, as we reach our own critical mass of awakening, we could send a domino shockwave around the world that could give permission to many other countries to awaken in a positive sense, rather than this. I hear that they're trying to sort of take us down and use us with vaccine trials and all of this other rubbish. We can just reverse that. We can reverse that by just simply coming together, understanding the truth. The light of the truth shines, and then we stand in courage, like what Gerald is saying, and we just unite in the understanding that we have who we are. We're a sovereign conscious being. And so it's a matter of, to me, is using all the elements to.
I like Shane, I was a health practitioner as well, and I used to do massage and traditional medicine. And so I was involved in the healthcare thing, alternative health, and the organizations and all that. And I kept being told that the world is watching New Zealand. The world is watching what New Zealand does with alternative healthcare. You know, there's a kind of interest in what's happening here. So I think that is a very interesting thing. Well, you know, why New Zealand? Somehow in the psyche globally, it is something. Tahira said, New Zealand is one of the locations destined to be the blueprint for heaven on earth. That's a that's a big thing to say, Tahira. But and that's probably why I was attracted to living here. You know, when I visited New Zealand 22 years ago, I said, I've got to live here. Yeah, I felt like I was home. So there's something about this place which is on a very deep earth or fundamental primordial level is very nourishing for children.
Yeah, I was told by you may or may not have heard of the Keys of Enoch. It's quite an innovative book, scribed by Professor J.J. Hurtak, who I have had here invited here to share a couple of times. And his comment was that not only is New Zealand on some particular energy line, I don't know if it's a ley line, but some kind of energy vortex, but we have a clarity within not just the air quality, but the vibrational frequency of this country is clearer. Not saying necessarily higher, because we've obviously got our polarity mix, same as any other country, but it has the clarity and the potential to be used for innovative ideas, as we know, and inventions and so on, but also to foster what you say pioneering or leading edge spiritual thought and healing and health and so forth, which is why, like you, Gerald, so many people who are in these different fields actually weren't born here. I wasn't born here either, but we got drawn here. And for me, this is my spiritual soul home. When I go back to England, it's nice to visit, but it doesn't feel home at all. And I think that's one of the things why we've got so many of people like yourself and people who are leading edge in all sorts of fields, is because they are drawn to that vibratory frequency, which when it's working well is of a very pure and high and clear energy for such thought and motivations to come into form.
Yeah. Nice. Totally agree with all of this. New Zealand is the first to see the light. I agree with Tahira's comment. I've sat with many tohunga in the far north, and their total belief is exactly that. We have a 200 kilometre zone around us, which I think is our fishing zone also. So the way I've been told is because they put a po in the Kumidi to protect New Zealand spiritually. So there's a vibration of energy that goes up and down the country. And as you said, Tony, we have an opportunity, and this is from what I was told, and this is what I believe, to actually lead the world in spiritual practices and all of the stuff that we're all talking about. I'm aware of what's going on. I don't need to be reminded all the time. So personally, I stay on track with my vision, my end game, and so through the Māori worldview, I've also done some work around that. That is what they see, and we're all connected and we're all related, and there's no colour, but this is a great opportunity and time for all of us as a collective to be able to shift and change the world on all levels. That's how I see it.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Also, for interest's sake, probably you've heard of the Waitaha people, and I went to a wānanga years and years ago by one of the main elders, the families there, and they sort of said, what Waitaha means water carriers, which is the age of Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius. Water is symbolically, in this sense, means spirit. So in other words, people have been drawn here, as I said, to ground this sort of spiritual energy, because we can, and be innovative in the various fields, which is, from what I remember them saying, is that why they traverse the world. They came from Sirius, they said originally, via Egypt and various other places, Easter Island and so on, and ended up here. So that was not only maybe a physical journey, but a symbolic journey to, because like you said, Shane, we're surrounded by the clearing energies of water, plus we don't have the build-up of negative karma embodied and integrated into the land to the extent that you'll find in, say, Europe or Asia or any other part of the world. Yes, we do have some national karma, obviously, but it's nothing like the density you'll find elsewhere. I can remember walking the streets of Budapest once and thinking on this, and it was like you could almost feel the heaviness of the centuries of oppression and suffering that Hungary, as one country, went through. And we have little pockets here, obviously, where there's been conflict, but we don't have that ingrained throughout the country as you would say find in Europe and so on.
Yeah, I felt that in London as well.
Oh,
Point,
totally.
Sylvia. Great point. The truth. Yeah.
Absolutely, the truth. Let it flourish.
I think also we are a remnant of Lemuria as well, and I think Lemuria was an incredible. They had an incredible unity, and the vibration of love in Lemuria was very high.
Whereas light-based, yes.
Atlantis was more technology-based. Lemuria was not.
Yeah.
Lemuria was a breakaway from the original Anunnaki that came here, and the Anunnaki, just like in humanity, they had the good ones and they had the so-called adversaries or the bad ones. Not that they're just playing the polarities. And Enki and his followers, I believe, formed Lemuria, or his you could say his disciples, and Enlil, who was more the more warlike one, he was instrumental in building Atlantis, as I understand.
Yeah, I understand too. Lemuria was more love, light based, heart based, and also used a lot more of the right brain, the creative, inspired hemisphere, as opposed to Atlantis, which was very left-brained.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there's another question here, which I think is relevant for today, is what can I do individually to be more responsible, active, grounded and balanced in this people's freedom movement? And I might add, in this time of change and chaos, how can we be fully centered in such times of change? Although we've already sort of I think we've answered that to some degree. I was going to
say, listen to these answers today.
Yeah. But to drill down in that, yeah, I think it's about knowing, it's about understanding who you are. It's about being able to answer the various questions applied to your life, like where are you going, who are you really, what's your vision, what's your purpose, what values are most needed. And I think a key one is responsibility and understanding truth, but focusing on the objective truths and focusing on the foundational truths rather than subjective minefield of he said, she said. And understanding that freedom for me is freedom for all. I mean, we're not here to just follow our own little ego trip of, well, I'm free at your expense, and that is the old system, and that's what's dying. So I think we have to become more inclusive rather than exclusive in our thinking, in our actions. We have to start considering how we can give out from whatever we can do to our family and our immediate ones, and then radiate out from there as we have the energy.
I think Sylvia was on point there as well. Everything that we've talked about today between the four of us, and excited for the next load of panelists on the next summit. But I guess for me, and if we continue to look after ourselves and understand that this is an opportunity to change the world forever, coming from New Zealand, and common sense is like, how many great things that New Zealand does for the small amount of people.
Yep.
There's something, so we've got something, there's something in the land, be it in the land, in the water, in the air. So what I say to my clients, if you just continually turn up as best as you can every day and just be aware of the flow and the end game, then that's what you need to do. I don't buy into, I've got a little thing with my son that's like, Jaden, if the world's about to blow up, you better ring me because I don't watch TV. I need a heads up.
Yeah. Could I just add too, I think too, by intentionally focusing on the outcome that we choose to see for the country, what I call in my terms, the perfect outcome, rather than keep focusing and talking about and moaning about everything that's wrong in the country, the Prime Minister, the government, the this, the that, the other. I switched off a lot of these Facebook memes now, and all these videos that people post showing about, I'm not saying they're not relevant. Yes, they are. I'm sure many of them are. But, focusing on all of these dreadful crimes that are being committed across the globe. And if that's your thinking all the time, you've lowered your frequency so low that, and also by focusing on them, you're giving it energy, aren't you, to some degree?
Sure.
You're feeding it energy, and we don't want that. So yes, acknowledge it. Obviously, you don't bury your head in the sand. But for me, if it's another one of those, I do a quick look and then move on. I don't focus on it and go into watching all the gruesome videos or the things there, because I know it's there. But I'm not going to give it my energy. So I switch my thinking deliberately, and everyone can do this if they wish. I wish to see, not just for the country, but for the world, for humanity.
Sure.
I want to see them moving on into a higher frequency of love and connectedness, as we've said, and of compassion and caring. Because the other thing I focus on is I inherently believe in the innate goodness of people. Yeah. I refuse to see that most are evil or evil intent or whatever. Yes, there are some, we know that, but I believe in the inherent goodness of mankind, basically, and by giving that energy, may only be a few of us, little drops in the ocean, but never mind. It all helps, I think, I know, to help balance this mass negativity and fear that's being generated from all of these possible scenarios and all the horrors that are being committed around the world.
Kia ora. Nice.
Agreed. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't even are in complete denial of what's going on, and I don't think that's healthy as well. But
No.
Once you're aware of what's happening, then we have to stand in our light and our courage, and we have to be solution focused.
And take our own
These
power
people
back.
who completely deny, and they think that we're an absolute, crackpots who are fully conspiracy theory, even on fairly well known things. Now, those people might help if they could just look at the blocks that are preventing them from looking at the dark side of their own self and the world.
Yeah, I think also too, Tony, and you're right. So in my understanding is it just means that people like ourselves, people with our connections, we just got to lift our game So,
Yeah.
and you're quite aware you've been carrying the flag and Sylvia forever around this. And and that's Steve and I's intention, is just to lift our own game and be the example and be the light, as all of you guys are doing every day.
Yeah. The more of us that do us, the bigger the dent we're going to make in the mass consciousness field, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. That consciousness grid that we're talking about, that's circling the earth, we're feeding that with positive energy more. It's going to create this self-fulfilling prophecy where, if majority of our thoughts are in the field, and they're not even from us, we have to fill that field with something more positive so that other people can then have the permission, if you like, to be able to then choose differently. It's about choice.
Absolutely.
And it's not just us, the panelists, but it's also the attendees. Now that we've shared and we know that we have attendees who are thoughtful people. So we are all in the same boat, and we can all, hopefully this event has given you some encouragement that you can also go out there and, make a difference.
I might add, just to speak into that, if any attendee feels like they'd like to say something, we can engage with them if they want to. If you want to speak,
They're all shy. They're all shy like me. Not. So if we do actually disappear in the next few minutes, or we close everything down, I'd just like to thank everyone. I'm grateful for being here with you all. For me, it doesn't matter if it reaches one person or 10 people. But and to be honest, it was like, no, I don't want to do that. But I'm taking responsibility, and I know that things will change. And I'm grateful that I can actually experience this new world with my kids and all of you. So kia ora to you all.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody too, because I found everybody's presentation had some gems, real gems of wisdom in it. I also made a note too there somewhere that what I loved about it was that how each of us tended here and there to cover the same important concepts or principles, but each in our own individual way. And to me, that's just a beautiful thing to see. Maybe keep this going. And thank everybody for being on this, and thank you, Tony, for having the inspiration to set the whole thing going. I think it's an important asset to New Zealand and ultimately the world.
Yeah, well, thank you all for showing up. I mean, we're the Freedom Team. We're the Freedomeers. We're moving from millionaires to Freedomeers. And
we can be both. Come on.
Both, Tony, both.
Well, a few million is all right too. I don't mind that. But actually,
yeah. I'm not. That's the ultimate Freedomeer.
But I think this is the first of more, and perhaps it might inspire some of the attendees to say, "Yep, I want to step up, and next time, please give me an opportunity to present," and that'll be great. So it'd be great to hear from the attendees what you thought of this first event. Obviously, we chucked it together and we wondered, would anybody turn up and all that kind of carry on. And but what we will do is we'll put out a little survey form with a few questions and just ask you a few things about what you thought about it, and did we answer your questions well? What did the technical side work well for you? And blah, blah,
maybe
blah.
Suggestions too for future.
Yeah. What you'd like to see going forwards and how we can build this up, basically. Yeah,
because we want to have more. We want to have it on an ongoing basis.
Absolutely.
And we'll have guest speakers, and we've got ideas for guest speakers and maybe some guest demonstrations, and we can all and we're all part of the Freedom Group. Everyone attending here is all makes it happen. So we're very interested in your engagement.
Cool. I'd like to thank Steve. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. Steve, silent
Thank you.
Steve.
Yes, thank you, Steve, from me as well. You're great in helping
Teresa.
behind the scenes.
You're very welcome, all of you.
And thank you to you guys for your presentations. I got something out of everybody as well. Was amazed at how synchronized, like Sylvia said, there was a lot of synergy between our talks, and we didn't even collaborate.
No, we didn't.
Together.
No. Also, we're going to thank the admin team of Awakening Freedom, Marie and John and Teresa. They're all a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to their presentations next round.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the freedom. Well, that's us. That's the freedom team. In fact, there will be 2 more people joining us too on our meeting call next week.
Yeah,
Friend David, Sylvia, and Keith Mason, who will be a really great asset.
I loved your calling us the Councillor 9. I thought that was cute.
It was always.
It's called in spiritual terms.
Teresa said, what about Bob? Yes, Bob, Janine.
Yeah, Bob, Janine, John.
Yep.
Tahira.
Yeah.
My mum.
My dog.
Millie the cat.
So, yeah, thank you to all of you for, like I say, to the whole crew for showing up. And I couldn't do it on my own, and it was just an idea can only come about through team effort and communication and group work. I think we've accomplished a lot in a short space of time. So congratulations to you guys.